been a good 5 years with this drum set, and today we're saying goodbye. Okay, that's all the boxes, and we have a brand new DW Performance Series in this box. And now I'm gonna catch my breath and contemplate if I should wait for Daniel to come home and share the unboxing experience. So this is going to be the chrome shadow finish of the Performance Series. I wanted to get a smaller bass drum because the previous one was a 22-inch and that was kind of too big for this room. Box number 2 and drum, yay! It's so cute. It's so tiny compared to the Tama. Ooh, mirror. Hello.
It's a pillow.
Yes. Yeah. So they have an internal muffling. Yeah. Internal muffling on both sides. Let's just get the toms out first. Bubble wrap and many boxes. I didn't get an 8. So this will be the 10. That should be the 12.
Yes.
If they gave me a free 8-inch tom, that would be very nice and very unnecessary, but it's all good. Okay, so here is 10 by 8. So this is deeper than my previous tom. And I actually got the 10-inch in the same height just to try out having both the toms at the same depth. And we will see how that sounds. But it's basically because I'm not very tall, and having a deeper tom just means the toms are going to be higher up. So here is 12 by 8. Nice. I can't get over how small it looks. It's kind of bluish actually. Finally, floor tom and assorted floor tom legs. It looks like a mini guitar case. Yes, a really small headless guitar.
What is this?
This is, I don't know. It's probably bits and bobs. I say descriptively. Okay. Welcome to the TW family, it says. You want to make a guess?
Lugs.
Lugs.
And drum key.
It is. Register online.
Oh, I thought they gave a mouse.
No, not a mouse. And yes. Spare lugs. Mounts. No drum keys in this one. Oh, there is a drum key. Nice. Spot on. And memory locks. Okay. So, just hardware bits. Okay, and the floor tom, which is 16 by... I can't remember what it is anymore. That's a tight fit. Ooh, very shiny. Here. Okay. So, that's all the toms down. Final reveal will be the snare. Let's try and get some boxes out of the way. You want to put the boxes in the box. So many boxes and so much bubble wrap. Alright, snare drum time. This is a much deeper snare than my previous 13-inch. 13 by 7.
Box in a box.
Yes. DW loves their boxes in boxes. And... Ooh. Aha! So it's basically the actual metal version of a similar finish, but now the kit is shiny and the snare is matte.
It's good, because you play the snare the most.
Probably. collector series.
Such a nice snare.
Yeah. And the fancy throw off that is really easy. Alright, so now what is left is to set everything up. So I think we will just set up all the hardware separately. 3,000 stands and tom mounts, and what else do we have here? 5,000 thrown. Yep, also another snare stand. We will just clear up the boxes and get to making this look more like a drum set. Basically, we just took everything out of the boxes and partially set up some things, but I figured I might as well let you guys have a look at how I would set up the drums. Number one is the bass drum. When you receive your bass drum, the leg is going to be up like this, so you will need to loosen this, bring it down. There is a little notch right over here that prevents you from going further. So after I tighten that on both sides, then this thing is still floating off the ground, and that's when you're gonna need your handy little drum key to lengthen this. You can scroll the rubber back if you want to reveal the spurs. Spurs are the little pointy thing inside. So for me, I'm not a super heavy kick hitter, and I think this is gonna be quite stable. So I'm not gonna rip up my carpet, but you wanna elevate it a little bit higher than the actual surface so that this part is lifted off the ground by just a little bit. So you need to do that about the same height on both sides. What that does is it allows your bass drum to have a little bit more resonance, and you're also getting clearance for the front part to be lifted a little bit higher because you're going to need to attach your bass drum pedal over there. So I have already set these up because these are the DW MDD pedals that I have been using for a while. They are direct drive, and I'm gonna need to get a hoop protector. As it turns out, I can't find my hoop protectors, so I'm just gonna use an old stick sleeve for now, which is about just as effective at protecting your bass drum hoop. So lift that up and slide that in. Nice. Normally at this stage I would set up the snare and floor tom and hats first, but because the side of my drums are facing the wall, I am going to set up my ride and crash first and then build the parts closer to me. I am so bad at vlogging. Doing covers with a static angle, so much easier. Alright, so this over here is the 3000 series boom arm cymbal stand. So a boom arm is one that has an angle to it, so you can take this piece out and you can angle it so that you can place your cymbals a little more flexibly. Like so. There is a little dial here with numbers on it, so that is just to help you remember what angle you have your stand at. So like this is at a little bit beyond number 4. This turning plastic thing is actually really useful so that you don't have to struggle, especially if your fingers are not really strong or you just don't want to bash them, as often happens when we have to maneuver really tight cymbal stands. Where did I put my drum key? Drum key, oh here you are. This thing over here, this is a memory lock, and that will allow you to save the height at which you wanted your cymbal stand to be, or the height of the segment anyway. So this needs a drum key to loosen, and then you can shift it down. There we go. So this thing sits nicely over here in this little slot. So I'll keep it loose so that I can adjust this to how I want it first. This is the base of the stand, and how wide you set this really depends on how much space you have to maneuver in your kit. But the bigger your cymbal is, generally the wider you're going to want your cymbal stand legs to be. This is a double braced stand, and that just means there are 2 of these metal bits, and it's a bit more secure. single brace stand will be a little bit more flimsy and kind of wobbles a little bit. So I'm gonna use this for my ride. The other thing to take note of is that if you're having a cymbal on the stand, you would want the front leg to be directly underneath where that cymbal is. Otherwise, it's going to be more likely to topple over. Okay, here we have a straight stand, so that just means it doesn't have the boom arm section, and this one I can use it for my crash. So this requires a bit less adjustment, a little bit less fiddly, just goes straight up and down, and then there are memory locks. Okay, here is the floor tom. The floor tom comes with a bunch of these, which are actually memory locks. So those go on the legs. If you're confused which way these go, look for the slightly angled part. That should fit nicely into this groove underneath the place where you mount the legs. So I'm gonna have to loosen this up a little bit. Just leave it in there. Slide it in. So I'll leave these memory locks loose first until I figure out what height I want this to be at. So that's leg number 1. Leg number 2. And leg number 3. You might or might not realize that 2 of these legs are actually closer than the other. So if I rotate it this way, you might be able to see better. These 2 are a lot closer to each other than, say, this one and this one. So that just means this is the front of the drum. I sometimes see floor toms placed backwards, and it's all very irritating, honestly. So this guy is going to be rotated in this direction when I set it up at the kit. So I'm just going to set this one up really quickly, and that will be going on my left for the main crash. I'm going to see if I can mount my toms on this one as well. This one's going to be taking quite a bit of weight, so I want the legs to be pretty far out. This is a tom clamp mount. This is where the tom goes, and this is the part that attaches to the stand. These things baffled me for a long time. You just need to unscrew this so that it comes out of this sleeve. Loosen this one. This goes around the stand. This fits back inside. And then you need to tighten this back again on the right, and it's pretty firm already. So just gonna make sure these 2 are both balanced. You don't want this to be super loose and this one to be super tight. There we go. So that is pretty stable. Then tighten this one. This is a ball joint, so this can rotate angles, and there's your tom mount. Nice. And we're gonna see if this stand can take 2 toms. I actually don't know if this will work or if I need to get another stand, but we will find out very, very soon. So far, looks like it'll do the job. Huh? Kinda works. When you're setting up your rack toms, you do not want to hear that sound. That is the sound of the tom hitting the top of your bass drum, and we do not want that. So I am going to raise this a little bit more. Okay, good clearance there. This bit, it's not quite level, so this tom is going to come up a bit, and we should be good for a start. Yep, nice. Don't know where the camera frame is. Next up is the snare basket, which is quite an impressive looking bit of hardware. I keep forgetting where I placed my drum key. Seriously, where is that thing? Drum key, oh my goodness, where is it? Oh, there it is. Right, so let's get this piece out of the way. Here's the basket. This is the angle adjustment. I usually don't like to have the footprint of the stand too wide, but in this case, I need it to go a little bit lower. There we go. Okay. Nope, not. It is not wide enough. Spin this thing down a little bit. Oh my goodness. Okay, come on. That is a very cushiony, comfortable looking little snare basket. Okay, this guy. Finally, drum throne. To all my students who have suffered for the past year trying to shift a bicycle thrown around, this is for you. And drum key. After you get your floor tom and snare height to be agreeable, that's when you want to tighten all your memory locks, just so that they don't rattle around. So even if you don't want to use them, definitely tighten all of these things. Last order of the day, cymbals. I've just realized that I set up this stand kind of comically high, so I'm just gonna put this here for giggles. Alright, so this is the DW Performance Series in Chrome Shadow finishply, all set up and ready for playing. I don't think I've mentioned it in this video, but I will be joining the DW family as an artist this year, which is a huge honor. I've been playing the Performance Series kits in my church for the past couple of years, but I never thought that I would get to own one and play it in my own studio, so it's super cool. Thank you guys so much for having me, and a big shout out to Benny Lim from Singapore Drum Shop for making this all happen. I think it's about time for a sound test, so I am going to do a quick head swap on these and set up all my mics, and we'll see how they sound. We're almost at the end of this video, but before winding up, I wanted to give you guys a quick overview of my first impressions of this kit. The very first thing that stood out to me was how loud the rack toms are. Their projection is just a lot more than my previous toms, which were shallower depths. These are both 8 inches, although a 12-inch rack tom is usually 9 inches in depth. I chose to have them both at the same depth so that from the front, both of my rack toms kind of look parallel to each other, and also that allows me to place this just a little bit lower without it hitting my bass drum because my torso is not very long. This snare drum is really great. I got a 13-inch snare for my main snare, although you'll see me playing a 14-inch snare in a lot of my other drum covers because a 14-inch snare usually has more body to it. So to compensate for that, I got one that's a bit deeper. This is 7 inches in depth, and I was a bit worried that the snares wouldn't be as responsive, but they are, and it sounds really good from the ghost notes to the rim shots. This is the Evans HD dry head that I have on it, and there's no other muffling. So for most of my other snares, in fact all the snares I've owned, I've always needed to put at least one gel on it to kill some of those unpleasant overtones and ringing, if not more than one sometimes. But this snare sounds great played wide open, although there is a bit of internal dampening inside this head, but that's it. And it's also really pretty. This is the Satin black over brass, so it's a matte finish that matches the rest of the kit. I'm also very happy with this finish. I was a little bit worried because I hadn't actually seen it in person, but I think it works great in my room. I didn't want anything too colorful because it will clash kind of with my walls and any colored lights that I might be using. So black is great, but I didn't want a glitter finish because I don't actually really like glitter finishes that much. It's a personal choice thing. This bass drum is a 20-inch kick, so I downsized from my 22-inch Canon. Basically, the reason for that is my room is really small, and I had to put so much muffling into that kick to make it sound good in this space. There was like 2 pillows and a cloth and some assorted stuffing stuff. This bass drum is pretty much wide open. There's only the internal muffling that DW includes with these. It's like a half pillow against each head, and that's it. It still sounds really deep and punchy without being overly resonant, so I am very happy with that. The smaller size also means that I can put the toms a little bit lower, so this is about perfect for my height. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate your support, and I do hope you'll stick around because I plan to be playing these things for a long time yet. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. Is this on camera? It's not even on camera. Hang on. Last order of the day. I didn't mean to toss those drum lugs around, but I am talking nonsense. Let's try that again, okay?